Hello, Steve White, TrickBoy89 for Steve Arts89, Star Trek's Alleged Gatekeeper. I am tired of people trashing the cage. I've noticed a lot of people, Robert Meyer Burnett, Mecha Random, other random people trashing the cage all the time, saying it's not canon, that it was a failed pilot and so forth. It's really annoying me. It did not fail as a pilot. It actually sold. These people do not realize they were going to continue with the series with Jeffrey Hunter and the actress who played Ensign Colt, all those people. They were going to go on and do a series. But Jeffrey Hunter, his wife, talked him out of doing the series. He backed out and they had to recast. They got William Shatner. Once they lost Jeffrey, they sort of dropped the dynamic of that crew and decided to make changes. And then they ended up doing a second pilot to basically showcase all those changes, the new actors, everything, and that sold. So this idea that it was a failed pilot and somehow the series just magically appeared and had nothing to do with the cage is rubbish. It did sell. They were going to continue on with the series. They decided to make a bunch of changes when they went to series. They eliminated the number one character, and then they were going to make Spock more like her, and that was something that carried on into the second pilot in the series. But it wasn't a failed pilot. It had issues. Now, someone might argue that, well, if they don't continue on exactly as it was in the pilot, then it's a failed pilot. No, if it sells and they do a series, it's a success. And it is canon. Now, it's included in the menagerie, and everyone does acknowledge that, but they act like somehow those two things are separate, that it doesn't validate it. And people saying, don't watch the cage first. You have to watch the cage first. You watch the cage, then you watch the Where No Man Has Gone Before and Carbonite Maneuver and the rest of the series, because they were done in order and they go in continuity. Now, there are issues like Spock's character. He's not developed fully as a Vulcan in the cage, so that does cause some continuity issues because he's emotional. Now, they're trying to explain that in Strange New Worlds and Discovery by making him emotional, and I guess somehow he decides to... It's like he tried to be Vulcan and failed. He left Vulcan, went to Starfleet, thought I can be human, and then found he had to sort of be Vulcan to be taken seriously, and then found a balance. That seems to be the way they're working it, which I'm kind of okay with. It kind of works, but as long as he ends up being the Spock we know by the time we get to 2266, I'm kind of okay with it. But I'm just sick of people dismissing the cage, acting like it didn't sell when it did sell, acting like it's not canon when it's canon, acting like it's useless and worthless and means nothing to Star Trek and the franchise, and saying you should not watch it first. And it bugs me that it always gets put at the end. It was on the end of the DVDs, end of the Blu-rays, because the thing I loved about the videos, I grew up on Star Trek on video. So I saw The Cage first, then I saw all the episodes in order of production. That's how they're supposed to be seen. They were aired differently because they were finished at different times, because some shows just ran over time and had more effects or production issues, so they weren't done in order. And went with the original first episode, they had a bunch of episodes. They just picked the one, the idiots at the studio, the network, picked the one they thought was the best, which was the worst one, which was The Man Trap, which is the most like generic Monster of the Week sci-fi, instead of Where No Man Has Gone Before, which was the real pilot, or I don't know what the other options was. I forget. They didn't have, everything. They only had a few episodes to pick from. They picked the worst one out of order. And now, because the DVDs and Blu-rays show, it's like they're trying to recreate the viewing experience people had when they watched them on TV. So they always show episodes in the order that they were screened, not the order that they were made, not the production order, the order that they actually make sense in. So because The Cage didn't air until 1988, I think, when they actually found a full copy of it, because for years parts of it were missing, and then parts of it were black and white, and then they finally found the colour versions, and then they restored it for the Blu-ray remastered versions. Because it didn't air until 88, they always put it on the end, and sometimes they treat it like a special feature, when it really is the first episode and it should be watched as such. So for all those people discrediting the pilot, it makes sense, because they're also attacking New Track and Discovery and Strange New Worlds and everything, because they always refer to the cage and they're working from the cage out. And they would say, it was a failed pilot, they shouldn't be acknowledging it, it's nothing to do with it. No, they're actually correct to do that. They haven't done a good job of it, but the fact that they do go from that point, acknowledge it, and they're working through those issues makes sense. And I'm just tired of people discrediting the cage and acting like it's not the first episode and shouldn't be treated as such. So yeah, I'm just surprised people don't know that it did actually sell. They were actually going to go to series. They were going to have Jeffrey Hunter play the role, and they were going to have the other characters in there. And then when he left and they redid the Captain, they decided to just change it all and basically do a second pilot out of what would have been the first episode. Because people talk for years about how shocking it was the series got a second pilot. It didn't really get a second pilot in that sense. So yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Bye.